This is 2OF Entertainment.
Welcome to the Lost Dollar Business Club, where we talk about business, and not just business. We talk about what makes businesses go up and what makes businesses go down. If you're interested in businesses, this is where it is. We talk about the global economy. We talk about global politics. We talk about everything and anything business related that affects your life on a global scale as well as a local scale. And don't miss after the show, Lost and Found.
Aha, David is back, and everybody else, welcome back to the Lost Dollar Business Club. We have a loads to get through today, shitloads to get through today, because I was at an event this week, which is all about entrepreneurs and business. But first, we have a guest as well, and the great thing is I don't know much about you, which is brilliant, because therefore you can tell me and the world who is listening, the millions of people around the world, like where you come from, what you do.
First of all, thank you for inviting me to your show, Anthony, David. Looking forward to share a bit of my knowledge. I have no idea what kind of knowledge you're expecting from me, but for sure there is something I can add to the show. So looking forward to that the next couple of minutes, hour. Looking at myself, I'm a sales consultant. I help companies with anything related to sales questions they have. And that can be just some advice temporarily, or in my current role, I'm operating as a CCO. Commercial director for a company and helping them grow their business currently, which is going quite well. Over the last couple of years, we grew like 100% year over year, so not too bad.
Yeah,
but it's not like millions yet. But still, if you go from 50,000 to 100 and to 200,000 and probably this year a little bit more, over around 500,000. So it's getting better.
And where are you based? Where's the company?
The company is based in the middle of the country, close to Den Haag, The Hague in English. And mostly I work from home at Zandvoort at sea. And Zandvoort is, of course, very well known over the last couple of years because of the Formula One races here in the Netherlands. So I'm very close to the action.
Yeah, big business, Formula One.
Big business for whole of Zandvoort and for anybody related to car racing. Of course, a very good opportunity to present themselves and make some more money. Yeah.
I'm not too far away from Silverstone, where I live. So a lot of the one teams are obviously based around here, and a neighbour who lives 2 doors down has worked for Red Bull and a lot of the big Formula One teams. So it's interesting how I like insights into the business side of F1 as much as anything else. So maybe we'll do a topic on that at some point. So it sounds like you're going to we've got quite a lot to go through, but you'll have plenty of insights. But also, David, you've been on holiday, sunning yourself, which is why you look so tanned and relaxed and handsome and young. What's it been like for you on holiday?
Well, first of all, the check is in the post, so I'll just thank you for that, for the compliment. Yeah, it's relaxing. I needed it, which is strange because I'm semi-retired, but I still needed it because obviously my partner's still working, so she's you get carried away with that. I mean, she's up super early, so I get up at the same time. We have breakfast, so it's a bit like going to work every day, and then trying to spin the old 2F entertainment plates. And this is the second show I've done today, so yeah, there's still a lot happening.
Still life in the hot dog yet?
Well, we hope so. Yeah. Say rumours of my death were greatly exaggerated. So we're here.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I was reading a little bit of blurb you sent through for the show today, so it should be interesting. Using AI, which we use which I'm actually addicted to, and now that the whole channel seems to run on it.
Yeah.
So interesting to see how it affects people. And
there's two parts of what we spoke about, and you just said growth as well. I mean, be it 50%, 100% growth. Whilst I was at the event, which is in Birmingham in the UK, which is about an hour on the train north of London, and it was held at the NEC, which is the huge kind of event space. And what I noticed when I got in there was, it sounds, you probably can't measure it, but there felt like a really good energy in the room. You know, there's lots of good people around with very interesting businesses. But one of the big topics was around growth, and unsurprisingly, that linked to AI. So we'll certainly come on to AI in a minute. But one of the interesting panel discussions to start with, and I think it's good when you've got guys in all different countries, was, and I've written it as, the government still isn't doing enough to help businesses truly thrive. And this was in the UK, and you had guys who had been at the very high tables of business in the UK. My first question would have been, do you think the government wants businesses to truly thrive? There's a question.
Seems they don't.
Yes, because it depends if you're a big business or you're a medium or small business. Any thoughts on that first?
Well, I think looking at small and medium businesses, I think they don't really want them to grow. And if they are growing, let's tax the hell out of them. And big businesses have leverage, so they can say, hey, if you don't want me, then we go to another country and we don't pay taxes there. So I think government should be a little bit more focusing on fairness, I would say. A big business is also bringing in a lot of work. So on the employment side, they pay taxes, obviously. But smaller businesses pay taxes just the same. They have employees as well. And on top of that, they pay taxes as a company. So I have no idea, and I never understood it, why a bigger business can negotiate, more or less, by not paying taxes because they have 1,000 or plus employees in the country. I don't think it's fair, but yeah. Even if they pay like 5% tax, it's still 5% tax, right? Instead of 0. So yeah.
This was there was some really good discussion around that. Ultimately, we don't want government meddling in our businesses in some respects. And what some of the panel said was that you felt the government were hindering companies in some ways, and yet when the government should be supporting companies, startups with the financial side of things, they weren't doing enough that way. And I guess in an ideal world, you'd say that the further away from government you can be, the better. But of course, if they want to drive economic growth and help the country, whichever country it is as a whole, then helping the small businesses start is certainly something they should be better at, if that makes sense. And there was certainly, I noticed, a lot of stands there that would help companies get, I guess maybe some of them are a broker, but help companies get financial support, be it in of a business loan or a grant. I just wonder, is that something you think Holland is struggling with at the moment and the rest of Europe? Because I have no concept of what it's like out of the UK.
I'm not sure what David can add to this about the Netherlands or Holland. What I know, when I first started my small business, just me, you get some extra tax breaks. And what I noticed over the last couple of years is that they are trying and are succeeding as well to bring that tax break down. So the amount you can deduct from your profit is becoming lower and lower. And in a few years' time, it's going to be completely gone. I have no idea why they should do this, except for the fact that they want more tax money coming in. And that's not really helping startups growing their business. So I would say keep everything what you put in place already, and keep it as it is, because it helps small businesses grow in the first couple of years, instead of making it a lot more difficult. And then, with grants, I agree with you. It will help, especially if you are an innovative company and looking at new technologies. And for sure, if you can give some kind of financial help to companies, it will help.
Yeah. And David,
And
just
it-
before I come on to you, one of the interesting things, of course, is with the energy prices are high in the UK. One would wager they're deliberately put high. But of course, what that stops is companies that have got warehouses and what have you are and a high energy demand. It's all right if you're working from home and it's just you and your laptop. But if you're trying to build that kind of business that has large machines, large energy usage, therefore the costs of that itself, regardless of staff and everything, and insurance are higher. But David, thoughts on point one? Government isn't doing enough to help business truly thrive.
Well, I think that sometimes they do too much, and I think what was alluded to was certainly what happened here in Holland. They called it, they call them ZZPers. So this is ZZP literally as it's pronounced, and these are people who are all self-employed, and like that was the thing to do. Oh, guys, you should all be working for yourselves, and and it will give you this huge tax break at the beginning, i.e., you can earn considerably more before you start paying tax. And and if you're a carpenter or an electrician or whatever, then your screwdriver and your saw, all that cost can all be taken off, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So of course, people thought, well, that's great, we'll do that. I don't want to work for a boss. And a lot of companies said, "Oh yeah, great. You all want to be self-employed? Okay, thanks. Bye. Take you off the wage list." And then, of course, what happens is that they then have to go back to the same companies that they were working for and saying, "Would you like to employ me as as self-employed?" And they said, "Yeah, I'd love to. But you remember that X amount we were paying you when you were working for us." Yeah, well, we're going to pay you half of that, and you should be bloody glad that we're going to take you back.
Bit of renegotiation.
So renegotiation. So that worked in a big way, and then all of a sudden they realised, of course, that people were doing this and they were getting these tax breaks and things weren't working. And so, as Ben Oak said, look, guys, we're going to change the tax laws. Oh, and by the way, you have to have this insurance, which is now mandatory, in case you do something wrong, and which was never the case before. So you get all these sort of costs above the line and under the line that keep getting loaded and loaded and loaded.
Yeah.
And it suited big business not to have people on their loan list. Everything was fine. But now they're struggling to get people to work for them. Yeah. And now a lot of companies are saying, well, no, I'm sorry, if you come back, you can no longer be self-employed. You have to come back and and work for us again. So it's like 5 years this way, 10 years that way. It's just changing. We're not going anywhere.
It's interesting you say that. I was talking to someone this week about all the hidden little costs of when you're working for yourself, depending on what field you're in, but you have to have insurance for this, you have to pay for all these different apps to do stuff. And some of it, you can't get insurance unless you do CPD stuff, which means that you have to pay to go to events and everything. And when you add it up over the course of the year, you realize you're steadily being drained of hard-earned cash by all these little systems and stuff. So certainly something to think about. We're talking to systems. That the next part of the festival was obviously a big slant of it was around AI. And in a way, taking away the dystopian Terminator view of AI is going to take everybody's job and what have you. What they spoke about was practical ways that you saw people using AI for creating, let's say, an estate agency, that they were using AI to basically replace people phoning people, potential customers and clients on houses they might possibly buy. And what it came into, of course, is that AI wasn't just helping you technically; it was replacing some people, but in a way, it was actually pretending it is a real person, which I find even more interesting, because these days it has become so hard to tell what is real and what isn't, which is kind of scary, to be honest. And one of the big things I was looking at is cloning. So taking, for example, everything I have ever learnt about men's health, men's performance, and everything I've ever interviewed anybody over, and feeding a clone that version of me, so that you could, instead of paying me thousands to work with you, you could pay a much smaller fee, and you can ask that questions 24/7, and it will tap into my hive mind, if that makes sense. So some really interesting conversations about what was possible. Who wants to talk about that? Why, Mark, thoughts on AI, especially in your business and the world?
Well, we are now tapping into AI to take over some how do you say that, repetitive tasks, and we're almost there. Not quite yet, but we're not replacing people just yet. Probably we're going to be able to replace a few admin people, because now they do it by hand, and AI can replace them. But I don't see my role being replaced by AI, because sales is still people's work. And you have to talk with people to be able to understand what kind of needs they have, and create a solution for that. So AI can help with this, but they can. I'm not worried about the fact that people like me are going to be replaced completely. AI will be very helpful in doing business, I expect. But that's about it, what I know about AI. I think what you said about cloning, it can be also a good business model for yourselves, because you can sell yourself multiple times.
Yeah.
Right. So in that case, it can even be a good thing for yourselves. But that's something to look into. I'm not an expert on AI.
No, it's good to get opinions. And what I saw was also the ability now to, let's say that you had regardless of whether you have a large social media following, but you know, let's say you've got a LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever else is there, TikTok, is that, of course, if you fed it into a clone, instead of you paying a VA or someone to respond to all your queries and comments, who might not do it how you want because they're not you, if you then trained your AI clone, of course, it will respond as best it could as you, because it will assume or evaluate everything you've ever talked about and come up with a best answer. So you can imagine how much that would help if on social media or even emails, it can start replying for you. The problem is one day you get home and realize it's actually kicked you out your house, and it's sleeping with your wife, and it's doing everything else for you. But that's neither here nor there. David, would you be interested in cloning yourself so everybody can have two of you?
I don't know, cloning myself. I mean, let's talk about two scenarios. Interesting listening to somebody talk about today. She was a chef, and she also had a catering company. So she got, and so she was now using AI to look after her diary, so to make her time more efficient. She's now put all her recipes into some form of database within the AI structure. So as soon as she gets a request from people who want certain dietary specifications, then these recipes come out linked to that. She's got that linked then to her shopping list, which automatically could do the shopping for her. And so she said, it's an absolute godsend because it enables me to do what I want to do. I'm a cook, or a chef, sorry. So you can see, even for the most bizarre points, you think, what would a chef want AI for? But it has revolutionized her life and her business.
Yeah.
Simply by taking away all the mundane administrative administrative things, which take up so much time.
Yeah.
And before she would employ a couple of people to do the shopping for her.
Yes.
To keep her
or she'd have to
diary
she'd have to do it herself because she couldn't. There wasn't enough money to be made on the back end if she was doing catering for somebody to have somebody to help her. So she'd have to do that as well. Like the typical entrepreneur, 100,000 plates all spinning at the same time, and all anybody sees is you shopping in the supermarket while they're working. So they think you've got a great life. But now the other side of that is one of the issues we have on the channel. One of the issues that I have as a creator is that I've got so many ideas for shows and I can't find enough people to do them. Now it is possible. Now this is what I'm currently looking into, and it is just a cost thing. And it's a bit like mobile phones cost a fortune 5 years ago. The cheapest chips now, and you used to have to pay a lot of money to make a call. Now you pay a flat fee once a month, end of. So all the technology prices are coming down. So I'm waiting for that point to come. And basically what I will do is I will either use myself as an avatar, or we will make avatars for each individual show. That avatar will then be stuck in this same sort of framework as we're in now. And it will be linked to an API that will go straight into a news feed. Now, whether that news feed's about, let's say I do a show about fishing. So anything to do with fishing, that can be picked up and put straight into this new show with this virtual host. And it will also be linked to a huge database of stock art, stock filming. And then lo and behold, I've got a 15-minute show about fishing. So for me as creator, that's really exciting because I could do, because I want to fit. The idea of the channel is to actually fill it full of different shows, with different people and different things. But the bottleneck that we have as a channel is people. That's our bottleneck. Yeah. So as much as I totally agree, if you're selling something, people buy from people. Do people need to have a newsreader, a real newsreader, or a real person telling him about fishing, for instance?
Well, I like the real news reader because it gives a little bit more of interaction with the public. If you put an avatar, it might become better than it is today. But if, for example, if you listen to YouTube videos spoken by AI, it's all very
it's very monotone.
And that if you want to go to sleep, it's great, but it's not something I really enjoy listening to at this moment. But probably it will become better. I
was just going to say, one of the guys who I sat and listened to a talk, and he made a really good point, which we'll come on to in a second as well. But he said, look, AI is as bad as it's ever going to be. It's only going to get better, faster, stronger, cleverer. And therefore, he made a really good point. He said, it depends what business you're in. But he said, if you don't learn to harness AI in your business, you've got about a year of a window before this is the golden time where not everybody's caught on to how useful it can be. But within a year, so many people will have done more so that he said, I guarantee, the ability to generate adverts, generate like social media posts to gain traction. There's so much ability to do things at scale now and at decent quality that there wasn't a couple of years ago, but people will catch up and realize very quickly. So his kind of thing was, if you don't use social media now, that's fine, but you will get left behind by the people that have, which is an interesting, it made me think, how am I? Taking the boring tasks that I spend my time doing, how much can I get rid of all of those to do the good stuff?
Yeah, exactly. And if you're clever, you can do that. You can start chipping away at that now. But you have a whole generation of people. I mean, terrestrial TV as such is gone. If you look at the largest broadcaster on the planet is YouTube. and Gen Z goes to YouTube for virtually everything. So why would you not? So why would you not want to be on that platform, in whatever form? If you're just generating news about your business, you could. You don't have to wait for the monthly newsletter, or if you're a club or a society. Do you remember the old newsletter, or the church would stick one through your letterbox, the church warden, about parish news in the UK.
Yeah,
That could all be done instantly. You just literally go online and boom, you're up to date. You're up to date. You're up to date.
that's what.
And so it's exciting times. It's not all Terminator.
It's like the early days of internet, right? And e-commerce and websites.
Yeah.
And it's a good point, because that's how I felt about, for example, most people have no idea about AI, but the people that do have, it's easy to have a negative kind of feeling for it. And there is some overarching thing of, how many jobs will it take, etc. But it's like social media. Social media can be used for good at the moment if you focus on what you're meant to be doing, or it can be, you can go down rabbit holes and spend your whole day looking at stuff you shouldn't. So it is a tool to be used. It's about how you harness it. And actually, we talked about, there was a chap there who sold his company for 4.1 billion, I think it was.
Billion, okay.
Yes, had a very interesting story, which I'll do an episode on, probably all about him in a few weeks' time, because he's written a book and got an incredible story. But one of the takeaways from what he spoke about was failure delivers the lessons success never could. Well, the point of that was,
so true.
Makes sense.
When business goes really well, you don't really learn that much, because everybody wants to be around you and everything. There's money in the bank and you don't need to call in favors. But when things have gone badly and you're down to your last 10,000 and your back's against the wall, that's when you start learning what's the most important things in business, who are the people that are going to support you and stuff. So Weimar, talk us about, what's your kind of levels of success and failure? What have you seen in business yourself?
Oh yeah.
That's another show on its own.
Yeah.
Probably. The short version, failure is all about, in my opinion, about mindset. I think once you have the mindset that something is probably not for you, or especially when you're not completely in charge, it's difficult to turn it around, and it becomes a failure. And that's very general. In general speaking, I give you an example. A few years ago, I was still employed by a company, and they introduced a few solutions for their market, and it seemed it was not correctly working for the targeted customers, and I was supposed to sell this. And I was not completely convinced that this solution would work for these customers. So in the end, I failed, and I learned that I should have been speaking up earlier during this whole process. And well, in the end, I left the company because things didn't work out as we all were hoping for. And I later found out that they changed their way of working, and that they have been quite successful over the last couple of years in growing their business, changing their strategy. So the failure from my part was not speaking up early in the process, and or leaving at a time that was should have been better for me and for the company I was working for. And I think the company also, in the end, discovered that they made some mistakes, because they had to fire not just me, but also other people. Well, So they learned also things. If you introduce something and you see it doesn't work, you should be able to step on the brake and reconsider what you're doing, instead of pushing for success while you already know that this success is probably not gonna come.
Yeah.
As you said before, when success is there, nobody is thinking about maybe we should do something else because it's already bringing in lots of money. So why should you never change a winning team?
Yep.
So yeah. So for me nowadays, when I see something or somebody is not really interacting with me, I speak up a little bit earlier and just put my foot down and say, okay, hey, I'm not very happy with this. The good thing is, of course, I'm now my own company, self-employed, so I have a better voice in what I want, right? I'm my own boss. So I'm on the same level as the people I work with. And before, you always have a hierarchy. And you have a boss and a boss above your boss who decide what to do. And that makes it more challenging to be able to change things. So
it makes me wonder how many, having worked in some large organizations, how many people are in businesses and they can see something's not right, but they keep their mouth shut because you don't want to rock the boat and end up maybe losing your job or something like that.
Yeah. And in the end, you lose your job just the same. So
that's to bite you in the ass. Interestingly, quite a few years ago, pre-lockdown, so we're talking 2019, 2020, I went into John Lewis, the big department store in their headquarters in London, and they were looking to reach more men because I believe sales were down, and they'd set up a whole new kind of area for men, kind of a hub where men might shop. But what was interesting was one of the people I spoke to there said that if they come up with ideas, they were only allowed to go to their manager. They weren't allowed to go to the person above them with it. So if they had an idea and the person above them said no, that was it. The idea was dead.
It's lost.
Which you felt wasn't
about lost and found, right?
Perhaps we'll come on to that. No, but it's really interesting with failure. I mean, there are so many of the guys I've spoke to either in my own network or on my own podcast before have said, it is those moments that you learn a lot when things are going badly, because everything's easy when money's flowing in. And interesting, the chap who sold his company for 4.1 billion in the early days, he said he had a business concept and they put their life savings into it and it just wasn't working, but they managed to get some investment, which was about 500,000, I think. And he said, which just meant that you lost a bigger amount of money each month because still the business wasn't actually a good idea. So it was a reminder that investment isn't always good if the whole concept behind it is poor, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Another lesson.
Another lesson.
I don't know.
It's interesting. I was just thinking when we had a discussion. Yeah, it sounds very much like a company I work for in Holland.
Could be. I don't know.
Could be.
Well, there are so many companies who have this way of working. So
but again, like rushing the launch of something, and then being getting to places, spending so much energy and time, and actually at the end of the day, using my skill set as a skilled salesman, telesalesman, to get myself in front, to get the right people on the phone. Then you actually sell them the product. And then the product gets delivered and it just doesn't work, and then that rolls back. So
it's all your fault, David. When you sell something and it doesn't work, it's your fault and not.
That's right. Yeah.
And
I looked at the board the first month I did it. I was top of the board for the sales. Great, I couldn't do anything wrong. I couldn't do anything wrong, but I was selling the proverbial cat in the bag. So cat in the sack, as they say. So and I walked away from that because that frustrated me enormously. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm spending all this. I always had an issue anyway. I spent all this energy doing something for somebody else, and then when I do see something which has gone not quite right, and I really, out of the goodness of my heart, not out of any form of arrogance or I know better. Probably when I was younger, it came across a little bit of I know better and arrogance, but just say, guys, that clock we built, it doesn't tick, it doesn't work. And then nothing happens. Nothing happens with the feedback, and we just carry on. And I thought, well, I have to step away from this because this is not good for my soul.
Yeah, which takes balls to do.
It takes a lot of it's draining energy from you.
Yeah.
Well,
I would say, say as well about people as well. Some people I like to call them as social vampires. They just suck the life out of you. And some businesses are exactly the same. It doesn't make any difference how much blood you give them. They're still draining you dry, and they're not good. They're not good for you. I mean, some people thrive, and obviously there are still loads of these companies around, that have all these difficulties, that didn't listen but still managed to, beg, steal, and borrow their way through. But they didn't suit me, and I know we're trying to get a new way of looking at business through the Lost Dollar Business Club these days, and it's got to be about us guys, isn't it? It's not about them; it's about us. How do we feel about the businesses that we want to get involved in and want to spend our time and our energy in? Because we're worth it. We're worth it. Don't ever forget that. We're worth it. Yeah.
Well, that brings me on to point 4. We only got one to go after this. Was obviously for a lot of the businesses their question was, yes, I've got a great product or service, but how do I get it out to more people? And one of the guys that spoke there, who'd worked for MySpace and worked for BBC and he'd worked for some pretty big companies, said, it's a reminder that great content means nothing if nobody sees it.
Exactly. Welcome to this channel.
Yeah, and it's these things that there's a lot of people said, just because you can, if you put a lot of money into your content and time and energy, but you don't put it into how can you redistribute it out, you've got to find the balance, because you do need content to reach potential customers / clients. But if you spend all your money and energy on making great content but haven't worked out whichever form you use or a kind of platform to get it out there, is it that you need to do paid ads? Is it that you need I hate to use the term influencer, but you need someone that can promote you forward? Is it that you need to employ a marketing specialist or team? Probably why Mark can talk about that. But it was a good point, because a lot of people probably, are busy working on, obviously they want to do the work that they know they're good at, but how do you get that and put it out into the public domain so people can see it? Why am I your thoughts?
Well, you're touching for advances.
David first.
You're actually touching on what AI can actually do. It can give you that little bit of extra. And if that doesn't work, because at the end of the day, all that sticky brown stuff always rolls downwards anyway. And, and it always ends up on your head. So, it's up to you to do it, to try everything you possibly can. And there's loads of free stuff out there. There's loads of ways that you can do it. And if you haven't got the money, I can't afford the influencer. I can't afford the ads. So what do? All right. Yeah. Well, I'll knock up a few things on my printer and walk around the area where I live and stick it in people's letterboxes.
For example,
yeah.
Or else you tap into anything related to being visible via Google and other search engines. And that's quite easy to do, to make sure that your content is searchable, findable with the right keywords. So I think that's your basics. And after you have budgets available, there are so many companies who are jumping in your inbox every hour to tell you, hey, we do this, can do that. I'm almost half a day busy with deleting emails from all kinds of people who are showing up in my inbox asking me, hey, Wammer, I see what you're doing and it is wonderful, and we can do so much more for you. And I think we already doing great. So let's leave it for now. Yeah. And sometimes I reach out and say, well, this could be interesting. I'll get back to you in a year's time. but not before.
Yeah.
And normally you don't hear them anymore. So,
but is that so wrong then that they're doing that? Because
no, it's not wrong that they do it.
Yeah,
I do it myself. Come on.
Yeah,
I do it
exactly.
every day.
Exactly.
So I'm not blaming them for reaching out. It's just that when people are reaching out with their content, I would say, it's so generic. Right? It's not. It's there's nothing.
Not solving your problem.
Really, nobody is really trying to be to understand what I probably need. It's all, hey, we do this, we do that, and we are so good with this and that. And there is nobody really trying to connect with me as a person, and that's where, in my opinion, they fail. Talking about failures. You have to, if you want to sell your company and the content and the solutions you deliver, make sure that people who do find your content, that it's something personal to them, and that they can relate to it, instead of only talking about yourself. But
it's such a good point.
Find out what your problem is. Find out what your first problem is.
Sell
a solution.
I have something on my on a wall just in front of me. What does it say? Sell the problem you solve.
Sell the problem you solve. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, but that's 101, isn't it? It's just that, because when people say, does that affect you? And you think, oh, yeah, it does. Then already you've got a starting point, as opposed to, hey, look how wonderful I am. Well, to be honest, I don't give a fuck how wonderful you are. Buy my product. Why?
Do you know what?
Because everybody else does. Yeah. So
you said about like spam stuff. I mean, just on that, of course, there is these tools now which enable you to scrape emails or scrape LinkedIn and automate everything, which is useful. But the problem is now there's so much of it. I probably get, probably 10 per day spread across different email addresses. So in the end, you get so blind to it, you just delete everything because you can't. Which is sad, because there could be some in there that could help me with stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've replied to quite a few Nigerian princes. I mean,
yes. Well, there was that really good meme. Well, it could have been a meme where it said, that the guy had died who'd had £1 billion in his office, and he was trying to give it all away for years, and no one replied to his emails, which I thought was always comedy. Well, the last one on my list of 5 takeaways from the event was that your email list is still one of your most valuable assets, and that being because I know people and have listened to stories where people have built a large social media following and built a business on it, which all sounds very good, but then for one reason or other, they get their social media platform deleted or banned or censored or whatever. And then
make one mistake and you're gone. And all your efforts are lost.
Yeah. And the one example was, this is quite a few years ago, over 5 years ago, but the guy had launched a digital product, which is probably easier to make money on Facebook years ago through the cost per clicks, etc. And long story short, he had built a really good kind of, had the emails were, the product was selling well, and it was kind of automated. He went away for a week and he didn't have anybody checking his social media. And the problem was that there was some glitch in it, which meant he was still making the sales, but it wasn't delivering the links for the digital product. So suddenly people all complained on Facebook, and Facebook shut his account down, and that was it. It nuked it, as far as I understand. And he'd been sending loads, but he'd never collected email addresses. Now, if he had done, you could just email your whole list and say, hey, really sorry, this has happened. We're back up and running. But because his account went overnight, he was fucked. So happily to hear you guys' thoughts on that.
Well, my thought is I can't agree more with you than what you're explaining. Social media is fine, but if you don't collect the data behind it and the person itself and an email, in the end you have nothing. So and that can affect you strongly in a negative way.
David?
I'm an absolute 100% fan of CRMs, and I've been running that crusade for years. And even when people didn't even know, well, what are you talking about? Yeah, we got a database, but I'd put everything into it. It's people buy from people.
Yeah.
And when I was ran the telesales team, they said, well, I couldn't get to the guy, or he didn't have time for me. I said, well, what was he doing then? He said, well, I don't know. I said, well, you should have asked him what he was doing, because that goes into the CRM. So I called Anthony, and he was taking the dog for a walk. So the next time I get a chance to call you, I said, oh, did you have a nice walk with your dog? So I'm already connecting you right from the get-go. So all that information, even the smallest things, they're all, used to say to people, they're all little pearls, little seeds that you can make these pearls out of.
It makes it also personal, right?
Pardon?
It makes it more personal when
Indeed,
you
and then he said,
like I
said, because if I was to call you, I wouldn't, and I've got the, I want to tell you something. So like, how did you get on with the F1? Was it really noisy where you were? And immediately
luckily the wind was blowing the other way, so it was not really noisy.
Okay, so already you're engaging with me, other than not interested. Goodbye, click blur. But so every piece of information you can collect from social media, everything, put it into a CRM, and then it'll grow. It's a little garden. That's the way. That's the way to make sure you don't fall over yourself.
I had a conversation with a guy a couple of weeks ago, and he told me that he was running, and a dog suddenly appeared on the road, and he fell. So he was something with his knee and something like that. And then 2 weeks later, I made a note of it. And 2 weeks later, I spoke with him. I said, "Hey, how's your knee? Are you running up and running again?" And he said, "Oh yeah, thanks for thinking about it. It's a lot better." And it was terrible. So we had a whole conversation about jogging and what kind of protection you need from the environment you're running in. It brings you closer to your customer, and it makes it more personal. And that's what we spoke about before. When people reach out to you with certain proposals, they only talk. They only talk about themselves, and not really about what they can do for you. But more, what can we get from you, so we getting a little bit richer, which I don't mind, but please.
But like I say, if you're going to use social media, back it up with a CRM, because you'd be amazed. The customer relationship management system, which is sort of a database on steroids. So you can put everything in it. And if you call them up and it's a birthday party for their kids, or their wife's out shopping, whatever piece of extra information that you've got will make that difference when you make that next connection with them, because you're a step away from "Hello, I'm here, buy my product." But you're in front of somebody saying, "Hey, how are things?" And I say to people, I don't care if you call him up and don't make the appointment. Because the next time you call out, by the way, I meant to ask you last time when I had you on the phone. You remember when I called you about the dog? So you've already got your second call already lined up, your second contact point lined up, just by that little bit of information that you bothered to glean. And that's the difference between people who are mega successful on social media and the people who are not, because they just, it gets automated, and they can't see the person behind the name. And they're just out there, churning numbers.
That's the danger of when I say the danger of the problem with AI, depending on how deep it goes into understanding people's feelings, but it could be that if it puts it across in the wrong way, that it goes to becoming not just robotic, but it doesn't understand the human emotion of this person doesn't need to be sold to today. They just want to have a conversation about an issue that's going on, or like you say, they look tired and they have a chat about it. So good. Well, interesting points. And I think we've covered all five, and each of those on their own could be a whole topic. So
well, let's do that next time. Excellent.
We'll cover as well. Let's roll on to Lost and Found when David's ready.
So this is Lost and Found. Here we go.
Ever wonder how millions vanish into thin air, or how a single dollar can make all the difference? Join us on Lost and Found, where we dive into the wild world of financial mysteries. From misplaced fortunes to unexpected windfalls, we unravel the stories of people, companies, organizations, and even governments who've lost and found millions. Lost and Found, because every dollar has a story.
So,
yeah, all AI generated.
I saw this and thought it was definitely, it's quite obviously lost dollar for the consumer. And it was sparked by a conversation I had recently about electric cars. And it's funny how obviously the algorithm listens to my conversations and then shows me whatever I'm talking about. But there was a report came out and talked about which cars, not saying they were electric or fossil fuel as it were the ones that were the worst performing for losing money. So I found it really interesting to say that EVs are the worst fuel type of all for value retention, which was interesting. Now, the fastest depreciating cars were as listed. So I don't even know what the GWM, I think that's a Japanese car. But then there was a Nissan Leaf, the Jaguar I-Pace. And the average retained value of these was somewhere between 25 and 30%. So for the people that were buying these cars, that was a pretty large loss within 3 years. Now, I mean, for me, electric cars serve a purpose, but they're not the answer to all of our hopes and dreams of transport, if that makes sense. But it's a good reminder that maybe at the moment, even if you like electric cars, they're not necessarily the one to be kind of going for, to be honest. David, what's your thoughts on electric cars? Why are my thoughts on electric cars? I'll give you a negative for as well. Have that.
Have that. Yeah. So we all agree that it's all. Yeah. Unfortunately.
I agree. I drive a beautiful Alfa Romeo 159 with a V6 3.2 liter petrol.
Oh, such a junkie.
That'll do us. Nicely done.
Gasoline junkie. Junkie.
It uses a few more liters more, but it's so enjoyable. So it's worth it. I think it's worth it. Yeah.
Well, I think you deserve this then for that.
Good.
There you
go. David.
And actually, it does keeps its value. So there you go.
Yeah, there's a reason.
Lost and found or not?
Sorry?
Did you have a lost and found this week for us?
Well, I think the lost is, if I look over the last couple of years, inflation rates. Talking about loss, I think we should do something about that. And then specifically for the Netherlands and the government, who's trying to recover lost revenue by raising taxes and adding all kinds of extra taxes on top of other taxes for the general public. It's a big loss because you're paying taxes over taxes, and your salary or your revenue or the whatever way you make money is becoming less valuable.
Yeah.
So you can do less with euro, right? So
yeah. So on behalf of the government, then we just do that.
Yeah.
And
on behalf of the general public, it's.
There you go. Okay, I've got a little film to sort of finish off with today, and I'll preempt it by saying, so we'll do that, and then we'll probably go straight into the credits afterwards. But everybody stay with us until the show is finished, because we still like to do some housekeeping before the end. We'd like to thank everybody for joining us today, watching the show. Comments, please. For me, I've been obsessed with this particular part of the world we live in, which is robots. And so for me, this is definitely a found product Where this is going to take us to, I don't know, but we're going to run this. So this is my found dollar for everybody in this industry and everybody, who just needs a friend who doesn't have one. And of course, those fiendish Chinese are banging them out at half the price you'd be if you're going to buy a Tesla. So
what could go wrong?
What could go wrong if you had one of those at home?
It's promising. I have no idea where I can put this robot, but
yeah, but I mean, I'll just mention healthcare, and just elderly care, healthcare, companionship. Just if you just look at it from that very subtle point right up to you taking it with you for walks and all the rest of it.
Well, maybe even also for safety, for elderly people living alone, having something like that.
And of course, there are more old people than young people on the planet. So who knows? So that was my found dollar. Chinese company who's given Tesla a serious whacking because they're banging him out for less than $7,000, where Tesla was asking 20,000 for theirs, and it doesn't even seem to work properly. But that's me finished for this week. So Anthony,
I was thinking it was cheaper than a small car. So if the robot was strong enough, you could just sit on its shoulders and it could take you to work and stuff like that. So
well, you joke about that, but there is actually now a rideable robot, which is you can have these. They're dog-sized ones as well. They're using for search and rescue, but it's also the Chinese now have another one which is slightly higher, the height of a small pony, which you can actually ride. So watch out. We're going to have robot boxing on live TV at the end of this year, and then the next thing will be robot racing.
Wow!
Whatever next.
Anything you can bet on. Let's put it that way.
But robots are supposed to be perfect, so they all end up at position number 1 then after the race.
Well, it depends if you charge them up overnight.
Yeah.
Depends how they are programmed.
If you watch them, if you watch the people who are developing these things at the moment, it's not quite as easy as that. So, but that's a lot of fun.
Nothing nefarious there at all.
No.
Perfect. Well, chaps, it's been excellent to talk and some really good stuff covered. And if anybody who's been watching or listening has any comments or questions, chuck them in the comments. And more fun next week.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. This was the first time for me, and very enjoyable.
Certainly not the last. We hope you're back on. Have you on every week?
Certainly not. Probably not able to join you every week on a Friday afternoon, but I'm looking forward to the next time. So
fantastic.
Okay. Well, fantastic. Cheers, everyone. Bye bye.
Cheers.